Okay, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, John. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the September 6th River Falls Planning Commission meeting. First thing we'll do is stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's have a roll call.
Holdcamp,
Here.
LaRue, here. Moody,
Here.
Odine,
Here.
Prendergast, here. Woolsey,
Here.
thank you.
Okay, next we have approval of the minutes from the August 2nd Plan Commission meeting.
I'll move to approve the minutes. Second.
Questions or comments on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next public comments. If there's anybody in the audience that have anything like to say, now would be the time. Come on up.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
My name is Pat Bilberry. I live at 121 North Winter Street, which is about 5 blocks up that way. And I remember in your previous planning commission meeting, you had a spokesperson from Habitat for Humanity here. Is that correct? And she spoke about sustainability when it comes to development, future development. And she mentioned a question about height restrictions for the proposed development on the, I believe it's on the west side of Apollo Road. And I would like to present some of my ideas that are keeping in the long-range plan that we have proposed for the city in terms of being biker-friendly, pedestrian-friendly, and also sustainability. And what I would like to envision, I'm not against the development per se, but I am concerned about accessibility for motor vehicles to Apollo Road, which is going to cause more traffic and, of course, more noise. And when you look at the peaceful setting of the Eco Village, you can see the tranquil setting. And a lot of us would like to see that maintain, that tranquility maintained. So an idea I have to propose to you is have some green space between Apollo Road and the development with bike paths, pedestrian paths, which will allow accessibility for pedestrians and bike riders only. Because I think there are other ways you can have motor vehicle traffic exit out of the development on the west side of the development, rather near Apollo Road. And I can envision maybe, since that's fertile farmland, why not consider reserving some of that fertile farmland, maybe like for a community garden like they have over in Hoppin Park. And that way you got not only have green space between there, and you also have a community garden, and where people can plant crops and contribute to the community in terms of not only recreation but agriculture. That's my proposal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Anybody else have anything like to talk about? Okay. We'll move on. First thing we'll talk about is we're going to have a public hearing on plan unit development for a general development plan for the Paulson Road Apartments. So I will first I'll close the council hearing and open up a public hearing, and Sam will give us a little presentation for the people in attendance and for us here.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Plan Commissioners. The first item on the agenda this evening is a general development plan submittal from Frisbee Companies and Amcon Construction. Before we begin, a reminder, a general development plan is a conceptual level plan that shows items like potential land uses, site layout, and location of structures. It is not the final and not the highest level of detail for a development. More granular details will be provided when the specific implementation plan comes before Plan Commission and City Council. So the development site is located on Paulson Road, just north of the new Tattersall Distilling and south of the Whitetail Ridge Corporate Park. On the map above, you can see it outlined in red. The image here shows an architectural rendering of the proposed building. The developer anticipates approximately 101 units with a mix of unit types ranging from 15 studio or alcove units, 53 one-bedroom units, 15 one-bedroom units plus dens, and 17 two-bedroom units. In addition to the aforementioned housing units, the development will include staff offices, lobby space, a community room, and 3 individual business work rooms. The first floor of the building will also feature a 4,500 square foot space for a future commercial tenant. The applicant is targeting a number of potential gym and fitness franchises as a possible tenant. In addition to the indoor space, the applicant will also provide a number of outdoor spaces, or a number of outdoor amenities, including a large courtyard, outdoor grill areas, walking and biking trails, and a second floor outdoor deck for residents. The applicant is seeking to provide a community benefit by redesigning and reconfiguring the existing large stormwater retention pond. This redesign will significantly improve the stormwater and erosion issues for the site and other nearby lots. So when considering an application for a planned unit development, City Code requires an application be considered via these criteria. Staff has reviewed the project submittal and found it to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and the official map as the site is zoned B3 highway commercial. B3 does allow multifamily development as a permitted use. Regarding community benefits, the project will provide multifamily housing in a market with a current deficit. Additionally, the development is located close to employment, goods, and services, which makes it compatible for housing. The character of the proposed building is anticipated to be compatible with the surrounding area, and the developer is actively looking to complement the nearby Tattersall Distilling with the building's design. Regarding land use, multifamily housing requires a 1-to-1 open space requirement. The applicant is seeking flexibility on this requirement and is looking to provide quality outdoor amenities, including landscaped areas, a rooftop patio on the second floor, and balconies on the majority of units. The site will also be connected via private sidewalks to the trail along Paulson Road. In terms of economic impacts, the development is projected to cost approximately $24.5 million. Conversations are ongoing regarding potential tax increment financing for the development. Engineering design standards will be addressed in detail during the SIP phase of the process. Preliminary review by staff has not raised any concerns. Finally, parks and open spaces. Staff is not recommending any additional open space requirements for this development. Next steps. The next steps for the general development plan application is to go before the City Council on September 27th. If the GDP is approved, a specific implementation plan application will be provided by the applicant and will come before Plan Commission and City Council. The GDP and SIP being approved is a requirement for a PUD's final approval. With that, staff recommends a Plan Commission for the enclosed council resolution approving the GDP for the site to the City Council with a favorable recommendation. With that, I'll defer back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks. So we're in a public hearing, so is there anybody in the audience has anything they'd like to say about this development? Yep, come on up.
We'll sign in here.
Yeah, there should be a sheet right there.
I'm the adjoining property owner, through which the water flows that goes to that retention pond. And they need to cut down the size of that retention pond. And where's that going to go?
Well, go ahead, Emily. This will all get answered when we move on to the next step. Because all we're really doing is saying, okay, this is what a developer kind of wants to do. Do we like the idea of having this unit there? Does that make sense? And then, once we do that, the council says, okay, we like the idea too, then they'll get into the specific plans of it. So what exactly do they have to do with the stormwater? I wouldn't imagine they make it any smaller, I'm not sure. I know they're gonna be responsible for improving it to our standards,
Okay.
to the city standards. And so that'll be part of that process. Right now, all we're doing is, yep, we think this is a good idea. We think this is a good use for the land. We think this will work there. It meets everything we want, we need, and we require. So that's what we're doing.
Okay.
That's all we're doing right now. I guess if you have specific questions about the stormwater pond itself,
Okay.
I would call up where we can get you in touch with our engineer, our city
Okay.
engineer.
I would do that.
Would that be the best thing to do, Emily, you think?
If there are general questions,
Yeah.
the developer's engineer is here also, who might
Oh,
be able to speak
he is.
in broader terms
Oh,
about that. So if Mr. Sumner wants to address all of the issues or questions that you have, and then we could maybe move into a conversation to address anything.
Okay, good.
sure. You want to have him come up and talk about stormwater now?
And excuse me, would you mind stating your name and address for the record?
Oh,
Thank you.
Gary Sumner at 130 Paulson Road.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if you guys are ready to answer that question yet, or, kind of the stormwater part of it.
Sure. Matt Frisbee with Frisbee Companies, and then Alex Catchpole, our civil engineer with Kimley Horn. So the size of the pond is actually not getting smaller. We're reshaping it, and we have some very deep retaining walls to hold it back. And then the improvements that are happening around it with the inlets and all that are being redone because we have water issues going into the back of Tattersall, the old Shopco. So that's being regraded to solve for that. So the pond volume actually will meet all the requirements and not necessarily decrease, just being reshaped.
Okay, thanks. And sure, come on.
It was part of my understanding of this process that part of that pond was to be moved onto my property.
I haven't seen anything about that.
Okay.
As far as I know, it's not going to be moving.
Again, the developer's engineer
Yeah,
might be
would
able
you-
to speak to that
yeah.
more specifically.
Okay.
So, yep, and get us some good information.
I think as Mr. Sumner said, my name's Alan Ketchbull with Kimley Horn Engineering. What Mr. Sumner is referring to is currently all the water coming off of his property comes down to one point in the bottom corner there, flows through a 48-inch culvert directly into the city's pond. And I think in larger rain events, it might short circuit into Tattersall's parking lot. So what we are proposing is a rate control method there that all the water will leave his site. It's just slow. It's reduced time, let's say. So the
Yep.
time of concentration is increased so that we're holding back a little bit of water with that new outlet control structure.
Okay,
So all the water will leave. It's just been being slowed down.
okay.
Yep.
So it won't drain as quick as it normally would.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So
So
you're
not changing the drainage patterns, the amount
Right.
of rain,
Nothing.
everything stays the same. We're trying to slow water down.
Okay,
So
So
that'll-
nothing will take place on his property.
What's that?
Nothing will take place on his property other than the rainwater leaving.
Correct. It is slowed down on his property. So it may retain a little bit longer on his property than it does now.
okay,
And that's, like I said, a project that I think the city was looking at before we even got involved as far as improvements with
Yeah.
that pond.
okay, thanks.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So, anybody else have anything they want to say in the audience? Okay, so I'll close the public hearing and we will up the council hearing, and I'll take a motion on this first.
I'll move that we approve the resolution approving the planned unit development, general development plan for a 101 unit multifamily development.
I'll second that.
Okay, questions?
I guess I have one question under the section that we have in our packet of 1.8.9, actively participate in creation of affordable housing. There's a bullet that says the project is proposed to be market rate housing with the goal of collaborating with the city using a program that would allow a percentage of the units be used for income-based housing. So I suppose, refresh my memory. I mean, we have models for this. I mean, this is happening with other developments, and we would just be applying that as well. But at this point, we can't really state how many units would be affected or what kind of tenant would be affected by that. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep. We're in ongoing conversations with the developer about what that might look like.
Okay.
And Ms. Shively, that would be part of the development agreement between the city and the.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Sam. Okay, Emily.
Yep, just a brief planning and development update for the commission. I wanted to update you that the code amendments that we heard back in July were approved by council in August with the modifications that the Plan Commission recommended. And those were largely related to RV, boat, and equipment storage and parking. So all that went ahead was the same as it currently is, where you can park an RV in your front driveway for 30 days. But it needs to move if it's there longer than that, because we don't want sort of a structure in the front setback. And the other thing that stayed is that 5-foot setback from the property lines for all parking and vehicle storage, again, to keep that space clear for drainage and utilities and to minimize encroachments on adjacent property. There was one person who spoke at the public hearing at council who wanted to know what would happen to driveways that are currently closer than 5 feet. And those are allowed to remain. So things that are existing under previous regulations are considered what's called legally non-conforming, which is a kind of a mouthful term to mean that if it was legal under previous regulations, it can stay in the same way. They can repair, replace, repave, that kind of a thing, and they don't have to meet compliance. They just can't expand that parking. So that was approved. And then the two items the Plan Commission heard in August were the Wells property annexation, Wells and Meyer, on Apollo Road. And then the future land use amendment and rezoning for the property down near Quick Trip off of Cemetery Road for the Renaissance Academy. And both of those will be receiving their second reading at council on September 13th. Also wanted to remind everyone that the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee is meeting next week on Wednesday at 6:30 in the training room. So I think you've gotten some emails out on that. We're going to be talking about finalizing the goals and then taking those goals down to the priority level in the different plan element areas. So really getting towards implementation. How do we achieve these goals in the comprehensive plan? And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is we have two applications for October. So we're getting, again, another similar to tonight, general development plan applications for the Wells Meyer property, assuming that that annexation proceeds. And then if you remember the Thompson property annexation, we looked at that earlier this spring up near Paulson Road and Radio Road, so very north end of town. There's 2 parcels there, and we have a proposal for development on the north parcel. So that will be coming in for Plan Commission to take a look at in October.
On the north parcel?
The north parcel. So there's 2 there. So the one between Paulson Road and the highway.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thanks, Emily.
Quick question. Did you say the steering commission is on Wednesday, the 21st?
The Plan Commission Steering Committee for the comp plan is the 14th. So it's next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. I think that was the date that most folks.
That of the 20th. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, any update on the sidewalk on Kennedy Street? It was supposed to happen this summer. I'm just curious where it's at.
Good final designs, ain't they?
Yes, and I'm trying to do my best to recall what the city engineer had shared with me. I do know the most important part being it likely will, at no fault to the process or any other concerns, but more so to contracting, materials, contractor availability, et cetera. It likely will not occur till the spring now. I think he's hoping to batten up final design through the winter and get it bid. I'm thinking I recall him saying he hopes to get it bid in January for March or April work.
Perfect. Alrighty,
Could I make a motion to adjourn?
sure can.
All right, I will.
Second?
First and second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.